Thanks, Maya. Afternoon, everybody. Thanks for having me. I'm also a housing worker. I do it for a living, for my sins, and I'm a member of the Unite Housing Workers branch. Housing policy and racism go hand in hand. Whether it's the Jewish ghetto of Venice or the Group Areas Act of Apartheid, the state and people with power have always tried to control where certain people live. And we don't have to go far back in history or leave these shores to find examples of it. In my own home borough of Tower Hamlets, in the 1990s, the, at that time, Liberal-controlled council was taken to court by the Commission for Racial Equality twice for discriminatory housing allocation policies that prevented Bangladeshi families from living in certain parts of our borough. One of the direct consequences of that policy was in 1993, the election of the first fascist BNP councillor in this country. Those two things are absolutely linked. We need to be completely clear about it. The fascists used then, as they continue to use today, the shortage of genuinely affordable housing as a way of attacking minority communities. And I need to digress slightly from what I was planning to say while I'm on the subject of my home borough to tell the meeting that earlier today, members of the so-called Football Lads Alliance marched past the East London Mosque. This is a wake-up call to all of us. I'm sorry to say I think we knew this day was going to come, but we have to stop it now. But similar false arguments about the connection between immigration and the housing crisis continue to circulate today, and I would argue probably underlie some of the reasons for Brexit. But ethnic scapegoating, of course, has taken on a kind of whole new lease of life since the election of Donald Trump. And the US has a long and disgraceful history of racist housing policies, which Trump is reviving, and I go into them in considerable detail in my book, which I'm only going to mention once, but it is for sale for a tenner outside the hall. The community of Levittown, for instance, which is a classic American suburbia just outside of New York City, after World War II, populated by ex-service people, given low-cost mortgages by the American government, provided that they were white. But we have an equivalent housing policy going on in this very country today. The Tories' much vaunted Help to Buy programme that Theresa May was attempting to tell us about a few weeks ago in Manchester has provided 120,000 low-cost mortgages since 2013. How many of those do we think have gone to BME families? Any guesses? Well, you don't know, I don't know, and I found out this week the government doesn't know either because they're not recording the data. So I made a Freedom of Information inquiry, that's what I was told by the DCLG. I'm going to be taking that up to find out if there is underlying racism in the use of public funds when it comes to discounted mortgages, and maybe Diane Abbott would like to help me to get to the truth on that question. Because we are at a crossroads when it comes to housing policy in this country. There's a battle for the future of housing going on within the Labour Party. Jeremy Corbyn has attempted to correct some of the mistakes of the past by committing himself, among other things, to a new programme of council house building and investment. But I'm afraid there are others who are destined to repeat the mistakes of the past. And we see examples of it going on today in several, in fact many London boroughs around the country, not all of them Tory controlled, but some of them are, where ball and chain demolition of people's homes and communities under the bogus name regeneration is displacing working class communities. And the most grotesque example of that is threatened in the London borough of Haringey, and a campaigner against the so-called housing delivery vehicle or Haringey delivery vehicle, Paul Burnham, said this: In the US, James Baldwin said, urban renewal means Negro removal, and we're seeing something similar here. We face social cleansing, hiding in plain sight, and that has a racist impact. There are plenty of poor people of colour in Haringey, people the council doesn't want around, at least not in such numbers. Driving up house prices means market forces push people out. And I'm going to finish today where this meeting started and where every discussion we have now about housing in this country needs to begin and end, and that's with Grenfell. And people have already spoken eloquently about the racist undertone of what both led to Grenfell and the response to it. But it is now all of our responsibilities to win justice for Grenfell. And let's not just talk about that in rhetorical terms. There's a real campaign going on. There are numbers of ways that we can win justice for Grenfell, but I think the most powerful tribute and memorial to the victims is for us to win genuinely affordable, decent, secure and safe homes for everybody in this country. And so, my final part is for you all to try and come along to and help to build the National Housing Summit on the 25th of November, when we take forward the process of building a united campaign to demand decent homes for all. Thanks very much.